Hey everybody, I got another hardware-free solution for you today. This is how to get your tarp line around a tree quickly without having to use a girth hitch or any type of hardware. So here we have a piece of 1.75 millimeter Dyneema, and this is my tarp line, and I want to get it around this tree without having to have any carabiners or clips or hooks or tie any knots. So here I have my tarp line. And yes, I did have to tie 2 knots to create this. However, future setup and takedown will require 0 knot tying or untying. Here we have 2 loops in the end of my line. I created loop number 1 with the Ashley stopper knot. And you can also use lots of other knots, but I'm going with the Ashley stopper knot just for ease of creating this. And then here we have a double overhand knot, also known as a water knot in the climbing world. It's a proven knot for working in this type of setup. So now I just go around the tree like normal. And normally here I would need a carabiner or some kind of little metal gadget that I got to get in here and mess around with. But check this out. Go over your line, take loop number 1 right here, pass it through loop number 2, your second loop, and pull it through until the knot comes through loop number 2 as well. So now I've pulled the knot through loop number 2 and I'm instantly connected to my line, just as if I had a carabiner or some kind of metal hook. So as tension is put on this line, these 2 strands that are gripping the knot will of course grip the knot better. So as weight is applied, the locking action of this improves. And as you can see, it's just hanging here right now. But once you snug it up against the tree, you'll have this knot hanging out here, and you'll have this loop in here that closes up. So this will hang around your tree just like a soft shackle. You can actually create this whole setup with a super professional looking buried butt knot shackle. But if you don't want to splice or tie any fancy knots, you can create this in about 2 or 3 minutes all by yourself. And you can see here, I've made the second loop pretty big. Normally, this loop right here, you would probably do just 1 inch. So the distance between the knot of the first loop and the knot of the second loop, if you do it just 1 inch long, this one is about 2 inches. You'll have an even more secure grip. So I'll show you. Like if I go around the tree, past number 1 loop, through number 2 loop, until the knot comes through the number 2 loop as well. With this part right here being really short, this little loop that is capturing the knot will close up really good. It'll be more like that. And so that basically means that this is going to automatically lock. It's going to automatically form the soft shackle for you. You're not going to have to come in here and squeeze anything. And then when your course is time to come down, this lark's head will jam up a little bit and get really nice and snug on here, which is actually a good thing because lark's heads are known to jam up. But you just grab this little loop, give it a tug to free it up, or you just push on the knot. And what's cool about having a large knot in this, it has good tactile. It means it's easily recognizable by touch. So when you come up here to get this all apart, you don't have to have 2 hands, 1 hand to hold the rope, another hand to get a hook off of here. You can just come up, feel where the knot is, push it through the loop, and come on down off the tree. So if you're wanting to do this with a super clean looking soft shackle and you don't want to have a bunch of knots hanging out on your line, another thing you can do on the spliced end of your tarp line, just ignore the knots here and pretend like I spliced this loop into my tarp line. You could also build a mini Evo loop. You could splice up one of these, and then just like on the end of the hammock strap with the large Evo loop, you can lark's head it around once and then do another little lark's head through the loop that was created and kind of snug this all up. And what you create here is another soft shackle. This part is the capture point for the knot, and this part is the knot, and then you can do the same thing. You can go around the tree, and you can do one of two things. You can either put the button knot into the capture point that you created right here, or with a small spliced loop on the end of your tarp line, you could also just simply pop the knot into the spliced loop. And again, you would have an instant connection. No carabiners needed, no hooks needed, and of course a quick disconnect by finding that knot with your finger and popping it through. And of course, this capture point on the Mini Evo loop is more secure as far as being able to stay tightened if there's not a load on the tarp line. But the thing about tarp lines, they're almost always tensioned. As soon as you set your tarp up, you're going to pull tension on your tarp. So the capture point for this knot will always be squeezed around the knot. So it's never going to be a risk of failure using this type of connection. Now, a lot of guys might say, well, you're tying knots here in this rope, and that's derating the value of the rope. Why don't you just splice it or use a hook or a carabiner? Well, the thing is, we're already using hooks and carabiners in our line. So, for example, if you have one of these little insects on your line, you get infested with all these stingers and wasps and flies, this derates the rope. This takes the rope through a harsh 90-degree turn over metal. So tying knots is not an issue because, and the same thing with these little hooks, it's already taking it through a harsh 90-degree over a fairly sharp piece of metal. So not to say that these things right here are that bad, but the fact that these perform well for us tells you that the derating of the rope value with a knot isn't going to be a problem, because we're already successfully using this line with it and derating it by passing it through this metal stuff that tears the rope up. So the knots aren't going to be a problem. And as far as derating the rope in this area, you're derating 2 strands of rope. So in theory, 2 strands of zing it or lash it is approaching 900 pounds tensile. So you're derating the value of 900 pounds, not derating the value of 450 pounds like you are with the metal hardware. Right, so that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. It's just a quick and easy way you can turn your line into a quick connect that will go around trees and other objects for your tarp line. Loop number 1 through loop number 2. Pull it until the knot is through loop number 2, and you're done. Thanks for watching.